pushing it, but look, Pokemotion riders come through now. This is going to be nip and tuck on the line. Now to Clay's putting on the pressure. I think he's going to do it. It's 2.2 kilometres to go. The game of chess is starting. Is it cat and mouse? There's a little bit of a trail off the back now. He could be losing a few riders as Leonard puts the pressure on. He's riding at 39 kilometres an hour on plus 1% grade.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Friday Frenzy, classic rock run loop this week, round 4, and the all-new Wahoo RGT. New intros for Wahoo RGT, new intros for ZMS. So these are the races. We're up to round 4, the French presented by Pano Racers, which is a creation of Keith Aitchison and Phil, I think it's Phil Riley, who apparently discovered through this that they live near each other in France and decided to start a French version of the Southborough District Wheelers, who originated the Friday Frenzy. So tonight it's a 20-kilometre loop with about 200 metres of climbing. We'll have a look at the profile in a minute. So yeah, round 4. Unfortunately, we missed last week because of technical difficulties on Beach Road. So we're back after a week away. The race still went on, just not this. So here's the loop. It apparently goes from near Keith's home, so we're expecting great things from him today. Bit of a climb up there, then some bit of a plateau, bit of a descent, and now a decent climb up there. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that. Another long drag, and then a downhill. So whoever gets realistically to the top of that long drag first you're not going to need much of a gap to be able to descend and take the win. So there it is, a single loop, 200 meters of climbing, 20 kilometers. It should be a great race tonight, as it always is. So we'll be expecting great things. There is quite a French contingent in Southborough District Wheelers. They're based in Kent, which is just across the channel, so I guess a lot of their members have decided to head over the other side. Why not? In these times, best place to be. Personally, tonight I'm actually commentating from the south of Spain, where I've been with my club doing a training camp. So I mentioned that partly because I'm relying on 5G to commentate, and I'm also on a very small laptop screen. So if I can't see things, if I drop out, that'll be why. I think we've got so we've got 2 more races to go. And it's best of 5. So at the moment, we'll have a look at the standings in a moment. But if you've done, 3 races so far, then you've still got. You've done 2 races so far. You could still crack the 5 races with doing the final 3. The next one comes from Denmark with the ECKD team, and the final one in Belgium. So I'm going to bring up. We don't have a standings graphic, but okay. We'll when we get the race going, I'll have a look and we'll see who's racing. But I know that Rasmus Feldballer is at the top of the standings. I know that Warren Gardner had a very good race last week and won the race ahead of Tim Cook, I believe. So Rasmus and Warren are right up there in the standings. Rasmus had, I think, a win in the very first race and has had good placings in the second one, but showed a bit of, Tadej Pogacar type of weakness to get well placed, but not win the last couple. So we've got 15 seconds now. They'll be on the line. You'll see all those bars going red as they get ready to rocket away. It was a fairly flattish or even downhill start to begin with. So I guess the first part will be fairly well together. Here we go. Off they go. So lots of red banners. There are people already sort of shelling off the back there. Not ready for the start. Casper Hededarm, very regular, very strong riders. Nick Greenhalgh just behind him. Francis Lambert, another very strong rider. Yep, we're seeing that the usual names up the front there. Stephen Miller. Where's I think the G Warren is Warren Gardner. He's changed to a French flag. Perhaps he's joined. I think he has joined maybe he's joined the Pano Racers as well. Always a strong Danish contingent. There's Pedersen. We saw Hededarm before. Haven't seen Rasmus's name come up yet, but that can happen. With a big bunch like this, when you're only seeing the first 10 or 11 names, the clever riders will be just hiding at the back of the bunch, because not much that you do at this point is going to have a huge effect on the race. So there's not even really any need to be right up the front covering moves in these first sort of 5 or 6 kilometres. So there we've got Dobson. There's always a strong contingent here from Southbury District Wheelers. The previous series was on a whole load of courses around Southbury District Wheelers, who are based in Royal Tunbridge Wells in Kent, just south of London. But they've diversified and have some guest courses. This is one of them. Last week was a guest course from Tim Cook on the based on Beach Road, a famous ride in Melbourne. And next week will be in Denmark. So we're seeing there Kester Dobson, Southbury District Wheelers, putting out nice steady power there, sort of around 250, 300 watts, good cadence. They're rolling along at about 41 kilometers an hour. Heart rate 158. Well, that's very variable, but I think that suggests that the bunch is not putting in too much effort quite yet. They're just happy to roll along at a decent pace, and I can't quite get a sense. Maybe we've got 25, 30 riders in that bunch, so there'll be a few back already. We'll see who those are as we go along, and people will just take their turn coming through the front. So we've got Dykes there. We had Viking LeMay at the front before. Who are we seeing now? Casper Hededarm still coming through. He's always at the front. Keith, what's happened? Keith there was at 36 dropping off. That looks like a mechanical or a power dropout for Keith. What a tragedy in his home race. Keith will have been hoping to do very well in this. He must have had some issue for his power to be zero like that. So perhaps we'll find out later. There's Casper. Oh, Casper's putting in a bit of it. That's some big power there from Casper. Steady effort there at high 400s, around 500, high 400s, 500 watts, going to the red. He's eased off now. Oh no, he's gone back into the red. He seems to have decided. Sometimes this happens. You go through and just the way things work, you know, maybe it's a little downhill and there's a little gap, and then you have to decide, am I going to go or am I going to, you know, ease back? But Casper's obviously decided, right, let's see what happens. And, you know, if nothing else happens, you can put a bit of hurt into your competitors, make them burn a match, as Nick Greenhalgh is trying to catch Casper, has caught Casper. So well done, Nick. But Nick will have burnt a match to have got up to Casper, as will Casper, you know, when he does the attack. Here we've got Hughes, T. Hughes, trying to bridge the gap. Tom Hughes trying to bridge the gap. Ooh, 300, 400, he's going to he's just getting onto the draft. What's he got? Another 3 or 4 meters. Just getting onto the draft. Oh, he's nearly there. Nearly there. He just needs another few meters. Come on, Tom. Come on, get right onto that wheel. That's it. That's the way. And now Bowyer has decided to come across. Edward Bowyer has got there. So we've got a little bunch of 4 out the front, and I think Pedersen is there in between, in no man's land, in between. It's always dicey to, you know, you can make this effort and then the people at the front decide they're going to drop back, so you've made the effort for nothing. Or in an ideal situation, you get enough at the front to keep working together. That really is what it depends on. They're going to keep working together. There's Kurt Pedersen there. We're not seeing, we are seeing his power there. He's doing steady 300. Doesn't look like this bunch are doing the power that they're going to need to stay away from the main peloton, which is now steady at about 20 meters, 15 to 20 meters. I think they're going to get caught by the peloton, but if they continue to work, they can work together. If they can put in some big efforts out the front, they may be able to stretch that gap out, particularly if the people in the peloton decide that they're just going to give up and let them go away. So there's still a bit of a gap. There's still room for those leaders to stay away, and they're coming up to a bit of a climb. So if they can hit that climb and maintain that power up the climb, but I think the gap is now getting smaller and smaller, and that bunch is going to catch those that little mini breakaway. But it's certainly shelled a few out the back there. So we see there Christine Benetto and Hogg, one of the Danish riders who've been shelled out of the back by that little acceleration. And that always happens too when there's a bit of an acceleration like that. Particularly if you're at the bunch, there's a sort of, you know, caterpillar effect, where if you're at the back of the bunch, it can be really hard to keep up as the acceleration goes. So it looks like these 3 have come off the back there. Is that Alvarez, who I think is behind those 3? So we're going to have a look now, going back through the field. Yep, there we are. Alvarez at 35, Hayes at 36, and who's with him? Oh, we've got a little group there, Fernando and Smits, with the Dutch flag, I think. Yep. Back, Payton and Elliott. Oh, thank you for the wave. Well waved. Hopefully they're listening to commentary. And there's Hurst on one of the Buffalo bikes, I think, in 41st. Looks very odd to be riding a race, but there is, in the virtual world, no aerodynamic disadvantage to riding that bike. So we're now back to 41st. We've got Panay here. One of the French riders is just pootling along there at 1.5 watts per kilo. So that's our last rider, I think. And then the cameras are behind. And unfortunately, Keith, right at the back. He's not left the race, but I can't. He still doesn't seem to have any power numbers. So that's very unfortunate for Keith. So Casper Hededarm on the top left there, looks like he's made another break because they've hit that little climb. Yep, they've hit that little climb, and Casper has taken the opportunity to put some more hurt into the bunch. And so far I haven't seen Rasmus, so I think that might mean that Rasmus isn't here tonight. Some very strong riders, but not Rasmus. We've got Rob Miller is there. He's a super strong rider. Tim Cook, another super strong rider from the 3R team. Tom Hughes now has come up to Rasmus again, and has to Casper. I'm sorry, and is now taken over on that little climb. He's going to try and put some distance into the bunch on this climb, and a climb is a really good place to try and do this if you've got the power to sustain it. once you get over the top, especially the way that the dynamics work here, if you've got a 15-20 second lead as you go onto that downhill, that can easily turn into a minute or more going down the other side. So the others are taking that seriously. They're going to need to try and catch up. He's got a 70-meter lead now. So here we've got Rob Miller, Nick Greenhalgh, some of the real contenders for this race. They've seen Tom get away on this climb, and they're, I think, thinking the same thing, that this is not a good place to let somebody get a good lead. They still have another climb coming about 2/3 through the race, so there's still another chance to catch him. So Jan Vanner there, one of the other No Pins 3R riders, going up to, doing a steady, 350, 360 watts. In that bunch, Nick Greenhalgh on the front. I mean, they're all in orange, they're not red, so they're not going all out, and Tom is going all out, and he has, I think, just crested the top with a lead of about 120, 140 meters, which, as you see, is now rapidly increasing as he goes down the other side, and this group still is yet to hit the top of the climb. So Greg Barnett there is also just taking a little dig as they hit the top of that climb, 400 watts and more, and now he picks up speed as he goes down the other side, well over 60 kilometers an hour as he goes down the other side, and he gets sort of 40-meter lead on the main bunch. But the question is Greg going to make the big effort and get across to Tom, in which case you might have two strong riders being able to stay away for a while, or is that effort going to go to nothing as the rest of the bunch, or the rest of the, let's call it the chasing bunch, catches him? I suspect the chasing bunch will catch him, but let's see. That was Matt Hammond there in 16th place. Assuming it's the Matt Hammond that I know and love. It's Matt he's in the same club as me. That's unusual. I can only think that Matt maybe had some problem, because he is a very, very strong rider and a very, very good racer. And you saw him quickly overtaking one of the other riders. So perhaps he had a problem, or couldn't get off the line or something, and is now working his way up through the field. Matt certainly has the strength and the chops to do that. So now Warren, 800 watts, Warren, wow. Warren putting in some big effort there. That was a temporary effort, but good effort there from Warren. So Jan now, so we're seeing people pinging off the front of this chasing group. They've realized that they need to pick up the speed. They can't let Tom get away. He's now within their sights now. He's back to sort of 20 or 30 meters. And that often happens when you get the rider in front in their sights. People will ping off the front, try to use that rider's, maybe there's two things. Either they'll use that rider's draft to go past, which I think Jan Vanner is doing. Maybe the rider will catch them or get on their wheel and work with them. Or they'll just go past him if the rider is not up to, if he's already sort of burnt his matches and needs a bit of a recovery. So Gruppo Compatto, the group is back together, but we've gone down to, what is there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, maybe 12, 13 riders, I think, in this group now. So where we did have 25 or 30 riders before, we've now on that little climb shelled about 2/3, and we're now down to the serious contenders. So there you have a sort of split screen. If you forgive me, not even going to try and do that because I'm on a small laptop screen, and picking out the names is really difficult. Thank you, Damon. It's now gone to the full screen, but good luck to those of you who can read it. So this is the group behind. So Evan Oystensen, Norwegian rider. There's Matt Hammond, who I mentioned before. Nick Haugard, strong Danish rider. So this is the sort of second bunch on the road, which seems to be from 15th backwards. So that means we've got 14 in the front bunch. So we've got a second bunch on the road here, a chasing group. I don't know if they'll have the power to be able to catch this group. But we'll see what the distance is. Maybe on the climb, somebody could bridge across. It'll be difficult on the flat because you get so much drafting ability on the flat. So Tom Hughes here really making something of this race. He's constantly on the front, constantly pushing at the front of the climbs, constantly testing out and stretching out this group. So he's making it a really good race, and the other riders are really having to respond to him. I hope he's got the power in reserve to be able to get up this steeper climb and then the longer drag at the end and make it through and get a good position. But he's certainly done a lot to animate this race. Tim Cook there, very strong rider. I think came second last week in the Aussie ride. So yeah, just going along steadily there, 200, 300 watts. Tim has a big wattage output. Tim, same with Rob Miller. Tim can put out 400 watts fairly easily. Well, easily, but he can put out a lot of power. So on a flat ride, Tim is an excellent rider. And there, Rob Miller, I mentioned before, a similar rider, has big watts. 270, 300 watts to Rob is probably well below his threshold. His threshold's probably in the high 300s. Same with Tim, I expect. So on the flat, what matters is not so much your watts per kilo, your power to weight ratio, but your outright power. And riders like Rob and Tim, Casper as well, and we've seen Rasmus in the past, are well able to put out a lot of power on these flat sections and keep off a bunch. But Rob there, not going all in there, just a little bit of testing, just going off the front, letting the bunch catch him now. A few riders going to the red. Rob will just catch onto the wheels and make sure that he stays in here. So just having a look at these names here, a few of the riders that we're not seeing on the front, which is always interesting because that's, that means that they're just, well, it can mean two things. Either they don't have the power, or it means that they're just racing clever and coasting along and not making any effort. And that is one of the cardinal rules of racing. Never do anything that you don't have to. So we're seeing a few names there. I saw Hans Kutlika there. He's not come to the front. We've got Caruso there in 5th place with the Italian flag. We haven't seen him at the front. Dobson, Vanderberg, Lambert we saw earlier. So yeah, a few riders there playing it very carefully, playing it sensibly. Just coming to the front a little bit now, but they're not putting in. You can see that the power bar is just in the blue, light green. So they're not coming to the front by putting in any massive effort, and that's a very sensible way to be riding a race on the flat section. Use all the draft that you can, and just make sure that you're in that group when things really start to be thrown down and the power goes in. Hannes Vanderberg. See, just 200 watts. That's nothing for these guys. That's just steady riding in the wheels, sitting on the wheels, getting a bit of draft, making sure that you're keeping an eye on things and ready to respond. Extremely low cadence there. That's a very unusually low cadence. I'm not sure. Maybe there's a mistake there, but 60. Maybe he is doing that. That would mean he's riding in a very, very high gear. 50, 60, now he's going up to 80, 85. Could be just a blip in his readings there, because 50, 60 would be, I know some people do like to ride at a low cadence. If you've got, a lot of strength, then that works, but low cadence is generally sort of 70s, but 50, 60 is the sort of thing you do for a drill. So we're now back to this second chasing group. With Pedersen, Oystensen, Nutt. Matt's just off the back of this little group. Not sure why there. And we're over halfway through the race now. We've done 11.3 kilometers with 8.5 to go. We've got Daniel there with the Brazilian flag. Another rider who's always in there. Yeah, Matt's has come back to this group here. And so now we're looking at the front group, who are nearly coming up to the sharper of the two climbs. And there was that long drag, which doesn't really show as doesn't show much on the profile graph on the bottom of your screen, but there's a sharp climb that you see in red there that they're just coming up to, a bit of a descent, and then that next section of green, I don't think it's as flat as it looks on the profile, so that will be a bit of a drag up to there. So Nick Greenhill there doing high 300s, so that's a decent effort for Nick. It looks like they're just so they're at 3% now. They're just in the foothills of that little climb. So I think this will be where the moves start to happen. So this is where we really need to see how this group is going to pan out. This will be where the riders who fancy themselves for this, they've got 7.5 kilometers to go. If they can get a break over here, they can probably hold it to the end. And it looks like Casper has decided that that's going to be his tactic. He's putting in the effort now. There's still only 3% gradient. It's going to get sharper in about 1 kilometer or so, but Casper's going to try and get a lead going into that. And now we're seeing a few riders having to react, trying to get onto Casper's wheel there. Nick Greenhub there, 4.5 watts Lambert. They're all needing to do, as the gradient increases, you don't get the draft effect. Certainly after about 3%, the draft effect on RGT falls off pretty quickly. So they're having to put in their own effort to get up to Casper, or to stay with the bunch basically. And so there we see Kester Dobson, who is part of this bunch, trying to get back onto Casper's wheel. So he's having to do 350 to 400 watts. His heart rate's pretty high there, 166, 167. Kester's just on the back of this bunch. He's got one behind him. There's a little bit of a gap coming to that wheel, so he needs to close that gap, which he has done now. Make sure he doesn't get shelled out of the back of that bunch. So we're now back with Casper. Tom Hughes, who was animating some of those moves earlier, has made a bit of a jump across to Casper, but Casper's still going at a steady over 5 watts per kilo. Tom is behind him at similar 5 to 6 watts per kilo. So if this pair can make a bit of a break, and who's behind them? Jan Varner, another extremely strong rider. If these three can make the most of this tough little section that's coming up, then that would definitely be three that I would say can stay away for the remaining sort of 5 or 6 kilometers of the race as they get over the top here. And Tom now drops the riders that he was with. I'm not sure if that was intentional or just accidental, but Tom has dropped Casper and Jan. I'm sure they'll be able to come back to him and get back on his wheel, which they have done now. So Casper is on the wheel. Tom now, really going at a high cadence there. That's track cadence, Tom. Well done. I say that as a trackie myself. Over 100 RPM. That's excellent cadence going up a climb. Not easy to maintain. I mean, your legs do get more tired at high cadence, but it's a good thing to practice. If you can practice high cadence and keep your legs from getting too tired at high cadence, it really does help you keep momentum up these little climbs. So Tom now putting a little bit of a gap there. He's got 15 meters on Casper and Jan, who themselves have another 30 meters or so back to the rest of the bunch. Nick, Greg, and Hans and Rob. So a little bit of gaps appearing. I see Tim Cook now is another 20 meters behind that bunch, and Kester Dobson appears to have been shelled. So the bunch, it's really, these attacks are really breaking up the groups now. Yep, it's really stringing out on this climb as you'd expect. They're nearly at the top. So come on, Tim, big effort. Tim, as I said, has big watts, but not, his watts to kilo ratio won't be as high as some of the others, but he has got big watts. He's got 20, 70 meter, 80 meter gap to that group. I think that's going to be tough for him to close. Maybe he can do it on this little drag, which should suit him. He's sitting now on 300, 400 watts, but a bit of a gap now to the riders up ahead, Rob Miller, Caruso, Kutlika, and so on. So Tim is now sort of on his own in no man's land. There's Kester Dobson, who got shelled out halfway up that climb. So this is the aftermath. This is the fallout from those attacks by Tom, Casper, and Jan on the climb. Nobody could go with them, and the bunch got broken up as they tried to come across. So Tom has come across the top of that climb with a little bit of a gap, 40 meters back to Casper and Jan, who I don't think will be panicking. I think they'll be thinking they can control that. They can catch him. There's a little bit of a drag to go, and still just under 5 kilometers to go. So they'll be thinking that's not, as long as it doesn't get too much bigger, they should be okay. So this is now the bunch behind our leaders. So we've got Tom in the front, we've got Casper and Jan behind, and now we've got a group of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 6 riders So we've got Greg Barnett, got Caruso, Rob Miller, Nick Greenhalgh, Hans Kutlika, and Vanderberg, who are a little pursuing group behind the front three, behind the podium riders, who have now come back together there, as you see on the left-hand screen there. So Casper, Tom, and Jan are now all together. They have a gap of about 40 meters. It's not a huge gap back to the riders. I'm not sure if they've decided that they're going to keep away here. I would have thought they could, actually, with the group behind being only 6 riders. Those 3 strong riders should be able to hold off, but it looks like they're going to allow the chasing group to come back. And if the chasing group puts in a big dig now, they will get back into the draft. They're at 15, 16 meters. They'll be starting to get the draft effect from the group in front, and it looks like we're going to have that group come back together. So we'll have a group of 9 riders at the front now, which is also not good for Tim Cook, who was chasing. But as that group ahead of him gets bigger, it's going to be even harder for Tim to be able to catch that group ahead, especially on his own. If he had someone strong with him, then he might be able to do it. But I think on his own, that's going to be too big an ask, even for a rider as strong as Tim. So here's Warren Gardner, Francois Lambert, and Kester Dobson now. They've caught him. So this is the group behind Tim Cook. Warren, after his triumph last week, is not going to, it looks like, even be in the top 10 this week. But it is your best of 5, so you can always have one bad week. And Warren has been doing very well throughout the series. I think he's also the leading Southbury District Wheelers rider across the series, and he was the same in the previous series as well. So he's doing very well and being very consistent. But this one appears to have been a slightly more difficult course for him. Now we go back to behind. I think we've jumped back to, where are we? Sort of the 21st and onwards. So we've got Dykes, Oksugoglu, Tange. I'm not sure how you would say that in Danish. Sorry about that. And not Thompson. So we've got a group of 4 here. Nutt is the other rider here, who are coming along in sort of 21st, 22nd, 23rd, and 24th place. So moving back up ahead of those guys. So we've jumped forward. So there's Kasper Pedersen. Kasper Pedersen in 14th place, and coming further back, Evan Oystensen from Norway, another Pedersen from the ECKD team, and Matt Hammond and Simonsen, another Danish rider. So Matt there mixed in with a very Nordic bunch of chasing riders who I think will realise that they're not going to, the chances of them picking up many places are fairly small, but they've got a bit of a gap to those behind. So here we go. We've only got 2.5 kilometres to go now. We've made it along that steady drag, and we're now coming down the other side. So with 2 kilometres to go, there is no clear leader. It seems like nobody was able to make another big dig going up that long drag, or it wasn't enough for anybody to make a gap. So it looks like we're going to come to the line with a bit of a sprint bunch of 9 riders. So we're going to have a sprint finish. There's Hakan. Sorry, I was saying Hans Kutlika. I'm not sure why I was saying that. Hakan Kutlika. Apologies, Hakan. See, just 180. He's just pedaling along. He's just making sure he stays in that group. They're going along at a nice clip, 53 kilometers an hour, 54 kilometers an hour, coming down a 4% gradient. So this is going to be a very fast finish, the sort of thing that puts your heart in your mouth when it's in a real race like the Tour de France, especially if there's street furniture or corners in the finale. So 1.3 kilometers to go now. So we'll see the red kite soon. We'll see the Flamme Rouge as they hit 1 kilometer to go. So we're in for an exciting sprint finish. Who's your money on? Rob Miller has a big sprint. He has some big watts. If he can put in a good... Nick Greenhalgh, I think, would be my pick from this in a sprint finish. He has a very good sprint, although I have to admit I'm not familiar with Tom Hughes or Vanderberg's sprinting ability. And I'd say my prediction would be Casper will try a long one. Rob will go with him. and Nick will cover them and come through on the line. So let's see how wrong I am. Salva Caruso putting in 400 watts there. So he's making sure he's at the front. We've got 600 watts, 600 meters to go, I'm sorry. And he's putting in quite a bit of power to stay at the front. You do have to put in the power. You can't afford to slip back in the bunch at this rate. So Nick there making sure he's up there. Caruso, Salvatore Caruso making sure he's staying up there. So 400 meters to go. Just coming up to 400 meters to go. Little bit of a rise there. This might test them out. It's not much, but it will be hard on the legs. Caruso is determined to go all the way. We've got 300 meters to go. Caruso is putting in a big effort. Barnett there is behind him. Nick now is moving up. Nick is moving up. He's got 200 meters to go. I don't think he'd be ready to go so soon. Casper has not made the effort that I thought he was going to do. Nick has gone with Van der Berg. Nick and Van der Berg as we come with Kudliker just behind. Nick is just, who's going to grab? Oh, who was that coming through? Was that Varner? Varner came through just on the line. Perfect timing there from Varner. Just pipping Kudliker and Greenhalgh. So, wow, what a finish. Tom Hughes there, Van der Berg behind him, Barnett, Casper Hededam, and Rob Miller and Caruso. That was your top 9. Now Tim Cook coming in 10th place. So what a great finish that was. Well, you know, I wasn't right, but what would you expect? I was right that Nick was up there. Okay, so that was close. I didn't actually think about Jan. He is also a very good sprinter. So there's Dobson was coming behind. We saw Warren Gardner and Francois Lambert. Here's Pedersen coming up to this little kick in 14th place. And we should get another little exciting sprint finish from this next group, who are now four riders. So Pedersen is going to cross the line uncontested here in 14th place, but 250 meters back, we've got a little bunch of 4. And I'm guaranteeing you, I will put any money that anybody wants to Facebook me on that Matt will win the sprint for the next group of 4 riders. So there you go. That's my prediction there. I'm hoping Matt's not decided that he's having an off day. Come on, Matt. I'm backing you, Matt. Don't let me down here. Come on, Matt. Matt for 15th place. They're coming up. Well, how much have they got to go? 150 meters. There's Matt going. Yep. There we go. Whew. That was lucky. Unfortunately, nobody took me up. But, you know, if you were thinking of it, do send money. Matt, I know, is an extremely strong rider. So Matt, they're crossing in 15th place ahead of his little group of Evan Oystensen, Simonson and Pedersen. We see Nick Haugaard here coming across in 19th place. And Nutt there in 20th. And then he's made a little bit of a gap there to Daniel. And then Dykes and Tanger. I'm trying to think how you would say that in Danish, but it's really, really foxing me. Perhaps one of the Danish riders can send me a message on Discord to tell me how to pronounce it. So Tang there crossing in 22nd place. Oxuoglu is in 23rd. Daniel there from Brazil in 24th. Now we've got a little bit of a bunch who are going to contest the finish together. We've got Christine, one of our female riders. Simon Miller, who is the overlord master of Friday Frenzy from Southborough District Wheelers. He's the one who organises all the races, and with help from some of his colleagues in Southborough District Wheelers to do the results and so on. Great team effort from Southborough District Wheelers to bring these races to life, make different courses, get results together, have different categories. The EKCD guys have now got their own separate subcategory within the races because they had so many people riding. So it's been a hugely successful series, and you know, I don't know what everybody else thinks about the Wahoo RGT takeover or merger, whatever it is, but certainly I think it was a great thing as a race organizer. I think it's a great thing that it will probably bring more and more people As Wahoo people get access to it, people have been using Sufferfest and Wahoo system, and they will get access, and so we'll see more and more people taking part in races. We'll see more and more people as you just jump onto real roads, and as they come to real roads and as they come to races, they'll realize how great RGT is and will hopefully hang around. I know some of you know I used to organize track style races, and it just didn't get enough people to keep it going. So I think it's a great thing to see more and more people. But Friday Frenzy has been extremely successful, as we see this little bunch here now coming across the line from 25th place, was it? So Christine there in 30th. We saw Thompson, Simon Miller, Alvarez, Hogue, and Christine down to 30th place. We've got Hayes in 31st, and how much to go? 100, yeah, just under 200 meters to go here for Hayes to cross the line. Nobody around him, so there's no need for him to do any great effort, although it is obligatory really to do something as you cross the line. I think somebody worked out you can do a victory salute in RGT, but I can't remember what the combination of keys was. Perhaps that's another thing that somebody could share on Discord or Facebook. I'm pretty sure, I think Jan Decker had the knowledge of how to do a victory salute in RGT. So here's Benetto in South District Wheelers Riders colours coming across in 32nd place, and Beale, a female rider, I think by the looks of it, coming across in 33rd place. And that's another thing, if you go onto the Friday Frenzy site, which you can find through Discord or through Damon's ZMS page, you can find all the listings for the standings, the individual standings, the individual race series, individual race standings, the series standings overall, and all the subcategories like South District Wheelers. There's a category for over 45s, there's a category for the Danish riders, and there is a women's category as well. So have a look on the website and check out all those riders and all those results. So here's P Viking coming across. With a name like Viking, you'd think he'd be one of the Danish riders, but apparently not. Perhaps they did cross to Canada, and he has decided to inherit that. So Fernando here, riding in the No War Ukraine jersey that RGT put together, and crossing the line there in 36th place. And here's Hurst on the very amusing sit up and beg bike, looking very stately as he comes in now. Ian Hurst from 3R doing a very stately 220 watts with 100 kilometers to go. Of course, 3R is very closely associated with the Buffalo bikes. Thank you. Wave there as it crosses the line. Not quite a victory salute, but a good wave. 3R, I know, do a lot of they do events and fundraising. I think one of the R's of 3R is raise, and I know they were very supportive of the Buffalo Bike Initiative, which is, if you don't know about it, Google it, look it up. But in brief, here's Smith's crossing the line in 38. But the Buffalo bikes are very sturdy, easy to repair bikes that are provided for communities, I think mainly in Africa, possibly only in Africa, for people who need transport to get to facilities, whether that's doctors or schools or shops and so on, and have no other alternatives. So a bike transforms their life by making it so much easier and faster to get into the things they need, and also obviously to transport things back to their own homes. And the idea is that they're very sturdy, easy to repair bikes. And I think part of it is also that they teach people how to repair them and make sure that they can be used. So it's a great initiative. So here we've got Elliot now in 39th from OTR Racing, and there's Stephen Elliott crossing there, or about to cross. Got 300 meters to go, and these will be our last two riders. No doubt in due course we'll find out what happened to Keith. He will come onto one of the pages and let us know what tragedy was. Oh, there we go. That's nice to see, isn't it? A bit of an effort there to make sure that you finish ahead of the rider you're with. And Payton's responding. Come on, close that gap. 17 metres. Is he going to make it? Put in that effort. That's what we like to see. Fight for your place all the way down the field. That's great racing. But Elliott crosses in 39th and Payton in 40th. So that's it. Those are our races. So this is next week, Aranda's Prestige. It's brought to you by the Danish group, as I mentioned before. So 21 kilometres, but it looks like we're doing, what was that, is that 3 laps? We're on our 4th lap. I'm going to count them. 4 laps. 4 laps of the Orlum circuit, I think, is probably vaguely close to how you would pronounce it. 200 metres, pretty flat. Denmark is a pretty flat country to ride in, although I believe they have a lot of wind there. So, but unfortunately, we can't replicate that. So there we go. 4 laps of the Orlum circuit, 21.1 kilometres, 260 metres. So it'll be about 80 metres on each lap. That will be our next week's race, round 5 of Friday Frenzy. So there we go. If you want details of any other races that are on ZMS, go to the ZMS Facebook page. There's lots of great racing, lots of great action from Wahoo RGT on ZMS. Midweek BR races, Westerly BR. There's the Love TT, which has been great and starts again with the head-to-heads that get shown each week and the different leagues. So lots of great racing coming up on ZMS and Wahoo RGT. So we'll leave it there. It's mine. I have to go down to dinner in my hotel in Spain. Actually, we had a last day of riding today, so back to the UK tomorrow for me. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining ZMS. Hope you've enjoyed that great evening of racing, and see you next week. Bye, everyone.